The emergency lasted 6 days. The payment schedule stretched across years. And the strange part is, nothing truly catastrophic happened. He did not lose his job. He did not gamble away his savings. He did not buy a luxury car he could not afford. His car simply broke down. Then his tooth started hurting. And one completely ordinary week quietly took ownership of dozens of paychecks that had not even arrived yet. It began on a Friday morning. At 8:03, his phone lit up with the most beautiful notification of the month. Payment received. For a few seconds, the number in his account made him feel safe. Not rich, just safe. Then the usual payments began disappearing. Rent, car insurance, electricity, phone, groceries. A streaming service he kept promising himself he would cancel. By lunchtime, most of the money was already gone. But there were still $438 left after the important bills. It was enough to fill the refrigerator, meet a friend for dinner, and maybe leave a little untouched until the next payday. For one quiet weekend, life felt under control. Then Tuesday morning arrived. He was halfway to work when a small orange light appeared on the dashboard. The check engine light. He stared at it for a moment, turned down the music and listened. The car sounded normal. So he did what millions of people do when a warning light appears and the bank account is still recovering from rent. He pretended not to see it. But 2 streets later, the engine began shaking. At the repair shop, the mechanic looked under the hood, made the face mechanics make before saying an expensive number, and finally told him the total. $1,180. He actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because sometimes a number is so far from what you have that your brain refuses to treat it seriously. He needed the car to get to work. Waiting was not really a choice. So he emptied the $420 still available in his account and put the remaining $760 on his credit card. It hurt, but he told himself the sentence everyone says in that moment. I'll pay it off next month. By Wednesday afternoon, the emergency appeared to be over. That night, while eating, he felt a sharp pain in the back of his mouth. He ignored that too. By Thursday morning, cold water felt like electricity. By Thursday night, he could not sleep. The dentist found a cracked tooth. After insurance, his part of the treatment was $620. Once again, the credit card won. His new balance was $1,380. Still, he tried to remain calm. He had a job. Another paycheck was coming. This was only a bad week. Then on Friday, an email arrived from his landlord. His lease was being renewed. The rent would increase by $140 a month. He read the email twice. 7 days earlier, he had no credit card debt and $438 of breathing room. Now he had $1,380 of debt, no cash left, and every future month had just become $140 more expensive. This is the moment when one bad month begins turning into several bad years. Not when the bill arrives. When the bill changes the mathematics of every month that follows. His first credit card statement showed a minimum payment of $55. That did not seem terrible. $55 felt manageable. But his card charged an annual interest rate of 24%. In the first month, almost $28 was added in interest. He paid $55, but his debt fell by only about $27. And now the rent increase and the card payment were removing $195 from every month before it even began. The next payday still arrived on time. The notification still appeared. But it no longer felt like new money. Part of it belonged to the landlord. Part of it belonged to the credit card company. And part of it belonged to a Tuesday morning that had already ended. At the grocery store, he calculated every item before placing it in the basket. When a friend invited him to a birthday dinner, he typed, "Sorry, busy tonight," even though he was sitting alone at home. He was doing everything right now. But doing everything right after an emergency is much harder than doing everything right before one. Then the electricity bill arrived $82 higher than expected. He could pay it from his account and risk running out of grocery money, or place it on the card and keep enough cash to reach payday. Again, the credit card won. The balance that was supposed to fall went back up. This is how the trap closes. Not with one outrageous decision, but with a chain of completely reasonable decisions made while there is no room left to move. An unexpected expense creates debt. The debt creates a monthly payment. The monthly payment leaves less cash for the next unexpected expense. So the next expense creates more debt. And soon, every small problem begins charging interest. The car is fixed. The tooth no longer hurts. But both appear again every time you open your banking app. The bad week ends. The payment does not. And the cost is not only financial. He began checking his balance before getting out of bed. At work, part of his attention was always somewhere else. counting the days until payday, remembering which bill had not cleared, wondering what else might break. When every dollar already has a destination, the future becomes difficult to imagine. You stop planning for next year. You start trying to survive until Friday. In a recent Federal Reserve survey, 59% of American adults said they had faced at least one major unexpected expense during the previous year. Yet only 55% had enough emergency savings to cover 3 months of expenses. Millions of people are not one terrible decision away from debt. They are one ordinary repair away. The real difference between an inconvenience and a financial crisis is often not the size of the bill. It is the amount of distance between that bill and zero. Imagine the same week again. The same warning light. The same cracked tooth. The same mechanic and the same dentist. But this time, there are $2,000 sitting in a separate emergency account. The money leaves and the account looks painfully smaller. But next month there is no credit card payment. There is no interest. The next paycheck still belongs to the future. Same salary. Same bad luck. Completely different life. People sometimes look at an emergency fund and think the money is doing nothing. But it has a job. Its job is to stop the past from stealing from the future. Of course, knowing this did not magically place $2,000 in his account. He was still staring at a balance of more than $1,300. So he began with a number that felt almost embarrassingly small. $70 from every paycheck. He opened a separate savings account and named it, "One Bad Month." The transfer happened automatically one day after he was paid, before the money could quietly disappear somewhere else. The first transfer did not make him feel safer. Neither did the second. But after several paychecks, the account finally reached $500. $500 would not solve every emergency. But it could prevent a tire, a phone repair, or a medical copay from becoming new credit card debt. That first $500 was not wealth. It was a wall between him and the next problem. Once that wall existed, he focused more of the available money on the card. Some months he paid a lot. Some months he could only pay a little more than the minimum. Progress was not smooth. Real progress rarely is. One month, he needed a new tire and had to take $190 back out of the emergency account. For a moment it felt like failure. Then he realized something important. The tire had not gone onto the credit card. The account had not failed. The account had done exactly what it was built to do. So he filled it again. Slowly the card balance began shrinking faster than interest could rebuild it. The number passed below $1,000. Then $500. Then one ordinary Thursday evening he made the final payment. There were no fireworks. His apartment looked exactly the same. His car was still old. His salary had not suddenly doubled. But for the first time in a long time, the next paycheck did not owe money to the past. He kept making the automatic transfers. Months later, that familiar orange light appeared on the dashboard again. At the repair shop, the mechanic gave him another unpleasant number. $730. He did not smile. He did not feel lucky. He still hated the bill. But he opened the account called One Bad Month, paid for the repair and drove home. The problem began on Tuesday. This time it also ended on Tuesday. That is what financial security often looks like. Not a mansion. Not a perfect investment portfolio. Not never feeling worried about money. It is a bad day that is allowed to remain one bad day. Because emergencies are unavoidable. Cars break. Teeth crack. Rent rises. Life sends invoices without checking your balance first. The goal is not to build a life where nothing goes wrong. The goal is to build enough distance that when something does go wrong, it cannot reach years into your future. One bad month can keep you broke for years. But one small buffer built one payday at a time can finally break the cycle.